hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. This is the NWA recap show that I do every week after recap right here on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Yes, I record it live for patrons of the MrWarrenHayes Show. Patrons, not Patreons. Patreon is the service which we get patrons from. So I do this for patrons exclusively every Tuesday. Yes, that's every Tuesday night immediately after Power. You get to join into the recording live, get a little early access to it if you can't make it live before I make this available out into the world at youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, as well as your favorite podcast application where you can listen as well to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to be straight with y'all. I'm a little under the weather. Hasn't been the greatest 48 hours for your boy Warren, but I'm on the mend. Not so bad. Kind of ruined my Royal Rumble plans, but hey, you know what? That's what replays are for, and the important thing is your health. It's the most important thing, really. See, I took the time to take care of myself. I'm getting back up there. I was really glad that I was feeling good enough to get some NWA Powerrr in because I really want to talk about it, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. And if you are, well, why don't you give the video a thumbs up? Huh? How about that? Give the video right here a thumbs up, and if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, why don't you consider giving it a review, a like, a favorite, a heart, whatever it is you do to show some love over on your favorite podcast app. That stuff always helps a big amount, a great amount. While I continue here doing stuff here on YouTube as well. So there you go. So let's just dive right in. And before we go on, I'd like to take just a minute to talk about NWA Hard Times, which I got the chance to catch up on over the past couple of days. Wasn't able to watch it live because I was on SmackDown duty. But wow, this was another fun show by the NWA. I thought there was a lot of great stuff here. I love the idea of the tag team tournament, the TV title tournament, taking place all in one evening with the very short 6-minute, 5-second matches. I think it adds a lot. And I know there's a lot of folks out there who are like, no, the matches are too short. You know, it's not believable. How do you beat a guy in 6:05? Well, that's it. It's if both guys are aware that to move on, to go on, that there is such a short allotted amount of time for them to do what they need to do to get the victory, well, I mean, they're going to go extra hard, aren't they? So if they're both on the same wavelength and they both understand the stakes, well, it's easier to get into. And I think the drama gets created a lot easier. I like this. I like the setup of the entire thing. I thought the tournament was fun. Not quite sure why Ken Anderson was not medically cleared to compete. Tim Storm got a bye, but you know, if it means I don't have to watch Ken Anderson wrestle, I'm okay with that. But there were some great matches throughout the tournament. I thought Ricky Starks versus Matt Cross was probably the best of the opening round matches. I really liked Trevor Murdoch and Dan Moff. That was just a big old slappity slap match. My God, Trevor Murdoch's chest after that match, it looked like roadkill. It was all red and pulpy and fleshy and just look. Skin's not supposed to look like that. My God. Those were clearly my two favorite matches of the tournament. The final was really fun as well, where Ricky Starks defeated Trevor Murdoch. I thought good way to cap off the show. I was surprised that they went with Ricky Starks. I thought they were going to go with Storm. the way that they had been building him and how strong of a babyface he is. Clearly not necessarily relevant in the world title situation. I still felt that, he could have carried the TV title and would have been great, but hey, Starks is a fantastic, fantastic choice. He's excellent at what he does. He's one of the younger faces, of course, in NWA, so it makes sense, if they're already thinking about building up future stars. Well, this is how you do it, and you put the workhorse belt on the kid. I think it's good. It's a good move. I'm just surprised, but it's still a good move. Congratulations to Ricky Starks. It's a good decision, good match, good fun. I thought I also enjoyed the world title match, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship match, where Nick Aldis defeated Flip Gordon. I thought that was a lot of fun as well. For what it was, Scott Steiner defeating Shooter Stevens, Aaron Stevens, was all right. It was just full of shenanigans, and it was okay. It was what it was. I loved how at basically, the Steiner had the thing won. He had Stevens in a Steiner recliner, and the question mark ran in to break it up, which caused the DQ because Steiner officially won the match. And Stevens just grabs his belt and bowls. While in the meantime, Scott Steiner has question mark in the Steiner recliner. Aaron Stevens doesn't care. He just runs right up the, just runs out of the building. I thought that was fantastic. And I also liked Aaron's entrance as well. He's so good at what he does, and he's the most over the top thing that they have. He and the question mark. I think it's a great pairing, and it works really well. When he was coming down. It's in the same studio where they shoot Power every week, and they're coming down through the audience through that aisle, and he was dodging all the hands that were being outstretched to touch him. I thought that was fantastic. It was not a great match, but it was fun for what it was. But you know what was a great match? By God. Thunder Rosa defeating Allison Kay to become the new NWA Women's Championship. That, bar none, is the best match of the night. It is one of the best matches of the weekend. It was my best match of the weekend until Bloody DIY and Mustache Mountain decided to tear everything down for the weekend. It was such a great match. One of the best matches of the weekend of all wrestling, not just on Hard Times, on everything that we got. It was so good. I think they did right. Well, hang on a second. I'm going to backtrack a bit. I had predicted that Allison Kay was going to retain because I felt like Allison Kay needed a little more TV time as the champion and get a good title defense in, big time title defense on this pay-per-view, because ever since they started Power, Kay's defended the title twice, I think, two or three times. And on the last pay-per-view, it was an attack. She wasn't defending the title. She was in a tag team match. So I was thinking, there's room to stretch this out a little more and bring us down bring us Rosa and Kay down the line a little bit. But no, they decided to pull the trigger on it. And listen, I'm happy. I love Thunder Rosa. I love Allison Kay. Both women, I think, are fantastic workers. The match in and about itself, it was so good. A little rough around some edges, if we're being honest with each other, but we're being nitpicky at this point because everything connected. They told such a fantastic story. They told a fantastic story together. Everything just meshed. The audience was into it. these are two women who know how to wrestle. They were absolute pros in everything they did. And whatever made the match not feel as smooth at some moments was overshadowed by the overall performance. This was such a good match. Best match of the card. Tore the house down. One of the best matches of the weekend. This is one of these matches that you go out of your way to go see. And it just, my God, it just establishes so much promise for the women's division. So much for one former, hang on, let me start over again. A former NWA employee said that women will probably never main event in the NWA. Well, with what I saw there that night, last Friday, or at least when I got around to watch it, but you know what I mean. There is no reason that the NWA women couldn't main event a pay-per-view. It's fantastic stuff. Go check it out. But let's move on to Powerrr tonight. It was a good show. It was a really good show. And it's still in that breakneck speed, that nonstop action build that we're so used with Powerrr now. They're able to maintain that onto the pay-per-view and give the big matches their big match feels. It's a great formula so far. NWA, the Renaissance. It's working. It's clicking. I love it. I really, really dig it. So let's go on to Powerrr. Let's start talking about NWA Powerrr tonight. Starts off with a recap of Marty Scurll showing up at Hard Times to chit-chat with Aldis. And he says, basically Aldis was fighting Flip Gordon, but was not putting the NWA World's title on the line. Marty came to confront him and say, don't be a coward, put the title on the line against Flip. And Aldis says, look, I'll put it on the line, but under one condition. If I win, all this business between you and I, Marty, it's on my terms moving forward. Marty Scurll says, that's fine. I just want Flip to get his chance. Flip is, of course, a part of Villain Enterprises, which is Marty Scurll's stable of gentlemen. Next, we have Sean Mooney, who is a part of the NWA broadcast team now, who is right there, and he interviews Aldis. Aldis puts over Flip, saying that he's a fantastic talent, great wrestler. But then he also drags him down, saying, but when you're in the ring with Nick Aldis, you're a flop Gordon, because he lost. See, that's the thing. Aldis says that he managed to have a private close-set meeting with Marty Scurll, and we are going to see the results of that private meeting at the end of the show. And he says, after you see this interview, you'll know why they not only call me the National Treasure, not only why they call me the Real World's Champion, but you will also know why they call me the Dealer. So I'm thinking, they having a little game of blackjack, something to that effect. Little casino games. That's fun. Good. Again, another great promo by Aldis to open things up. We have Sal Rinauro, who is at the commentary position with a broken arm. Sal Rinauro, who shone during the Gauntlet match last Tuesday on Powerrr. And he says that he was supposed to be in this match here, and he's disappointed. Now his arm is broken, but he's on commentary, and he did a pretty good job, actually. And the match that he was adding some color commentary to was Royce Isaacs, accompanied by Mae Valentine, versus Andre Gunn. Oh, and just to make sure that we understand that he's not related to any of the other Guns. Gunn is spelled G-U-H-N and not G-U-N-N. Just to clarify. There's some good back and forth between Isaacs and Gunn. At first, Isaac blocks an arm drag and hits a basement drop kick, followed by a fisherman's buster suplex, but Gunn kicks out at 2. He being Gunn, fights back with a drop kick, and Isaacs rolls to the outside. Again, Ronaldo is on commentary. Ronaldo's on commentary, and he says that, you know, he's talking about Isaacs and so on and so forth, and Isaacs is close by within earshot. And Isaacs takes exception to the fact when Ronaldo says that he's been neutered. He doesn't like that. He goes and he jaw jacks. And Isaac hits the ring after doing that, but Gunn immediately rolls him up. But Isaacs kicks out at 1. But there's not much more match here. Isaacs hits the hush money suplex and beats Andre Gunn, breaks his losing streak as well. And then he steps out of the ring and he starts telling off May Valentine to keep her eyes on him, and tells Ronaldo to mind his own business. And this is all tying into the fact, you know, that last week we're kind of establishing the fact that Isaacs had been losing focus ever since he started dating someone. Well, at least this week it didn't cause an issue, didn't cause a problem. But it's still interesting to see here this dynamic where May Valentine was talking to Renaro, and he was like, no, you look at me. Isaacs just went to grab her and said, no, you keep your eyes on me. Sort of I got a bit of Miss Elizabeth Randy Savage vibe here. Not completely uninterested by that. Let's see where this goes. We get a recap of the ending of Kay versus Rosa, and Kyle Davis is there to interview the new NWA Women's Champion. Thunder Rosa comes out for the interview, but immediately after Melina and Marty Bell comes out, Kyle Davis is like, what the fuck? Why are they out here? I don't know why these are here. Kyle Davis tries to ask a question to Thunder Rosa, but Melina answers instead. She says that with her guidance, champions are made. She made this opportunity happen for Thunder Rosa. The audience would like to hear Rosa. That's what Kyle Davis says, and the audience is very, very much receptive to that. But Melina was like, never mind the audience. We taught Allison Kay a lesson. And apparently, from that point on, we learned that we are getting the rematch. Allison Kay went to NWA, requested her rematch. So we're getting that next week on Powerrr. And Rosa finally gets to talk and says that it was a fantastic moment to have won amongst the fans and the audience, who are very, very, very loud in their support of Thunder Rosa. If we're being honest with each other here. I don't know if they still want to try and push Thunder Rosa as a heel, because it's just not going to work. People like her too much. The reception she got tonight, is clearly an indication that she has much more value as it stands right now as a babyface. They have set up some tension. Between Melina and her. Where Melina does all the talking, but Thunder Rosa is the champ, so still interesting. We'll see how that goes. Melina basically says, we're done here. Well, let's save this emo crap for later. So it's interesting. Interesting little specks of story being spread around here, because you spread specks, but you sow seeds. You can't sow specks. I don't know what you do, what kind of plants you'd get by sowing specks. It's just ridiculous. It'd be a waste of time, folks. Don't even try it. A fun little interview. The Crockett Cup is coming back in 2020, and it's coming back in April, as if April needed more wrestling. Jesus. Gonna have to take the month off. We're gonna have to cover everything. No, it's actually good news. I'm being facetious, of course. Crockett Cup for 2020 in April this year. Ricky Starks comes out, to talk to Dave Marquez. And Dave Marquez lays it down very, very clearly, that he's going to have to defend the title week after week. And Starks is okay with that, of course, because that's what the TV title is all about. He says, he's proud to hold the mantle that was once held by men like Ernie Ladd, Terry Funk, Austin Idol, Arn Anderson, and Dusty Rhodes, and so on. And he calls out Zicky Dice. Dice comes in and he says he would have won the tournament if NWA hadn't brought in a mutant freak who doesn't even work here, talking about Dan Moff. I would never say anything wrong about Dan Moff, ever. To me, that's just a death wish. You kidding me? He starts putting down Starks, and he says his glasses are worth $6,000, his earrings are worth $4,000, and his fanny pack $14,000. Now listen, if those glasses that he had on were worth, he says he paid $6,000 for the sunglasses that he was wearing right then and there, I'm going to tell you, I need that kind of mark to come over to my place where I can pawn off all sorts of stuff to him at exorbitant prices. That's absolutely fine. Someone give me Zicky Dice's number, because I got a bunch of cheap shit that I can mark up 1,030%. That won't be a problem. If he's ready to pay for it, if he wants to do some kind of weird flexing, that's fine with me. Anyway, they get a match. Ricky Starks in his first title defense versus Zicky Dice, and we learn during the course of this match of the Lucky 7 rule, wherein if you as a television champion are able to defend your title 7 times, then you get a shot at the world title. And going to the time limit is considered to be a successful defense as well. So that's interesting. The Lucky 7 rule is a nice little a little extra here. I like that kind of stuff. Gives a reason for the TV champ to go out and defend the title week after week. So Dice is in control with an arm drag and a shoulder tackle, an inverted atomic drop, but Starks bounces back with an arm drag and a standing drop kick. Dice goes off the second turnbuckle and eats a double axe handle from Starks. But Zicky Dice gets back in control, hits a Northern Lights suplex into a bridge, but Starks kicks out at 2. He headbutts Starks and a chop, but Starks comes back with a sling blade, takes Dice down, hits a missile drop kick. Starks counters the reverse neckbreaker and connects the stroke. Starks with his first successful defense of the television title against Zickworth Dicington, which is his Christian name. And now we have the highlight of the evening. Now I'm gonna preface this by saying that if I were feeling better and if I wasn't still under the weather, I probably would be able to deliver how great this segment was better than I will tonight. So bear with me, but this was great stuff. Joe Galli interviews James Storm and Eli Drake, your new NWA Tag Team Champions, who won at Hard Times, took them away from the Rock and Roll Express in that three-way match, which is fantastic. And they start talking. Eli Drake starts to pump up the crowd, and out come Aaron Stevens and the question mark. Stevens has a very, very, very long black belt. Of course, introduces himself as the third degree national champion. Joe Galli says, he kind of challenges him and he says, what kind of champion are you? Because Steven starts, feeling good about himself, about his win, about his match over Steiner. It's like you lost. There were shenanigans to win, and then you left your partner, the question mark, in the middle of the ring while he was being tortured by Scott Steiner, and you just booked it. You left. And Steven's like, I had to be somewhere immediately after the match. This is perfect stuff. And then this is where it just starts going off the rails. James Storm starts doing a couple of grade A dad jokes. What did Bruce Lee used to drink when he was thirsty? What did Bruce Lee used to drink when he was thirsty? Wata! And then he keeps going. He keeps doubling down. He even does knock knock. Who's there? He said, he did the knock knock. Who's there? Interrupting cow. Moo joke that every dad does to their 5-year-old. And then he does, what does Ronda Rousey's roundhouse steak and the Packers have in common? They all lost on the final kick. Storm is, I don't understand what's going on. And Eli Drake is not quite sure what's going on either. If you go back and you look at it, Drake is sort of like, he's standing there and he's like, what is going on? And the Aaron Stevens is like, for the sake of humanity, I hope you're sterile. He says, I hope, did someone drive you here? It was bananas. And then it kept piling on. Eli Drake said, he starts talking to Joe Gulli and he says, look, there's 2 guys next to you here. And I need to understand, there's one guy in his pajamas and there's the other guy who went shopping at the bondage section at Hustler. And he says, are they talking about wanting some championship gold, some tag team championship gold? Because they're going to have to be on a waiting list kind of thing. And then Trevor Murdoch comes out. Murdoch says that, he didn't make it to win the TV title, and he's okay with that because Ricky Starks is a fighting champion, and he respects Ricky Starks, but he doesn't respect Aaron Stevens because Aaron Stevens ducks out of matches. But he went to NWA Brass and got a match booked for, he got himself booked into a title match for the national title. And then Trevor Murdoch gets Mongrovian spiked for his troubles. He falls to the ground. The heels stand tall. You have Drake and Storm who were like sitting in the audience watching the proceedings. This was wild. This was really, really wild. And one of the reasons NWA is so much fun to watch, because none of this felt planned. None of this felt scripted. It didn't feel cookie cutter. It really did feel like everything that was happening was unexpected, surprising, improvised. Of course they told each other what they were going to do. There is some creative direction, of course. But it was so good. And it's exactly these types of promos, these types of situations here, which makes NWA so much fun to watch, because it breaks with all conventions that you see in any other type of weekly wrestling broadcast. AEW, WWF, WWF. I guess I'm in my old school. I was talking about Ernie Ladd and Terry Funk earlier, so I guess I'm feeling old school. But the point is it's these types of segments that just become so crazy and so much stuff happening at once where you're like, whoa, what's going on? It's that it's that level of unpredictability that makes it really good. And what makes it really good, really special, is because of the talent that is delivering the lines, the talent that is making this stuff happen. All of these guys who were here were all able to compose with each other's promos, were able to play off each other. They didn't have scripts written down. They weren't feeding off lines. They were being themselves. By God, it worked. And that's what happens when you have special people and you let the special people do special things. Can't say that enough. So NWA Powerrr this week ends with the sit-down interview between Skrull and Aldis. And Skrull is sitting down and he's looking at his phone. And he says he's been waiting for 20 minutes and he's getting annoyed. He says, what the hell is this? He calls it Bush. This is Bush League. I got stuff to do. But Aldis does come in. And this was a good segment. Aldis says that he tries to be a nice guy and look the other way, but he gets pissed off because he does everything right. He takes care of himself. He takes care of the NWA. He goes above and beyond for himself. And apparently he's the one who gets saddled with a reputation of being difficult to deal with. And he always thought Marty was different than everyone else in the business. And he says, while you were out doing your things and getting into these wonderful positions for yourself, there was never a bigger cheerleader than me, calling you, giving you advice, a friendly word, a pep talk. And then last year, Marty, you challenged me for the world championship in spite of everything. In spite of everything, we headline a pay-per-view together. So I don't understand why you're back here in my house, basically, looking to do stuff looking to come against me, essentially. And Marty says, every day I have to live with, you should have been world champion. You should have won at MSG. And he said that exactly. You should have won the Crockett Cup. He says, I feel like a failure. While I was working still on the indies for 30 pounds a night, you were TNA champion. 15 years I've been doing this. I've never been champion. And I was this close at the Crockett Cup. And I know I can beat you, Nick. I just want one last chance. And Aldis says, okay, well, what? The purse goes to me? And I like that. Because Marty says, I don't care about the money. I want the belt. I want to be world champion. So they said it at the Crockett Cup. They said it as the main event at the Crockett Cup. And Aldis dictates the terms. Basically, he says, I'm going to give you something to lose, Marty. If you lose, you personally have to cut a check and refund everyone in the building who bought a ticket. It's a money-back guarantee match. Which I thought it's really funny. I like the idea of it, but then I got to thinking, money back guarantee. Who wants to see? Let's say you buy a ticket to go to the Crockett Cup. Now, do you want Skrull to win? Right? You want a free show. You want Aldis to beat Skrull, right? When I think about it, it's like, isn't it a little counterproductive? Or maybe is it part of a grand scheme that Aldis has to turn the tables, turn the audience on Marty Skrull, right? Maybe that's the thing, and it's a great way to do it. I mean, if I'm buying a ticket and one of the two chumps in the ring, loses, I get my money back. I'm rooting for the other guy. Right? Or am I wrong? Let me know if I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments below, folks. Let me know. I can't be alone in thinking this. Still, I'm glad they set this up. Skrull versus Aldis at the Crockett Cup again this year. I think it's a good move. It's going to be a great match. They had a really good match at the Crockett Cup in 2019. It's going to be good stuff. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the Crockett Cup in and about itself as well. It's going to be fun times. Good episode. A good post-mortem of Hard Times is what I'd call it. It's a good post-mortem. setting everything back on track, creating some new angles. It was good to see Ricky Starks in his first defense. Not exactly wrestling heavy this week, but nonetheless, it's always a good time. NWA is such an easy show to watch and get into. If you're not watching it, I don't know what you're doing with your life. No, you're probably doing something really cool. But you should make room for NWA. It was good again this week. It's a good one. It's another good one. So there you have it, folks. I'm going to wrap this one up for today. So thank you all for watching. Hope all you patrons were able to enjoy it in early access, and the rest of the world the next day on the Wednesday. It's available to everyone on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes and on your favorite podcast application. If you are watching on YouTube, do consider giving the video a thumbs up. That is really, really appreciated. Otherwise, I will see you back here Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern for the weekly Mr. Warren Hayes show right here. That is recorded live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So, folks, thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next time.